Good evening, Ed. Sorry, I was a bit distracted there, wasn't I? I forgot the music had stopped and nobody had appeared, and people would be going, "Oh my God, what's happened to them? They've been abducted. There's been a
Well, it's
raid.
understandable.
The door's
Yeah,
been
it's
caved in,
understandable.
and we've been taken away to be tortured and incarcerated for daring, I say, to disagree with the government mandates."
What's the latest mandate?
I don't know, mate. I don't know. Oh,
Okay.
they've noticed your haircut already.
Oh, thank you very much.
They're
Yeah, I've
on
got
the ball.
a new shirt that was the color of which was suggested by one of my favorite humans, and she has very, very good taste. So I'm pleased with it.
So it wasn't Amy then.
No, it wasn't Amy. Amy hates the loud shirts, but if you're gonna sit looking at a talking head for an hour or more, then anyway, I'm in Larry Johnson's camp. Larry is the person that I stole the idea of, because I think having a tropical shirt when you're talking about World War III and death and destruction, I just think it adds. I mean, if you're gonna do World War III, at least have some color. You know what I mean? We don't have to look boring.
Yeah, hey, why not? I'm with you. I'm with you. I should do that as well. Oh, I've got Hawaiian shirts here. I just need to lose some weight to get back into them, I think. But
Well,
yeah,
you're doing your fasting, so you're on the way.
yeah. What was I going to say? So we're going to talk about telepathy tonight, and I've been sending you messages all week. I was going, Ed.
Yeah, my as I said to you, my telepathy is a bit rusty. I'm afraid. Sorry.
So I even download. Well, I didn't download. I watched a thing on YouTube about how to do it, right? And it was to clear your mind and think of the person, and you were to think of the person and just keep saying their name in your mind's eye until there was a click, and I never got the click. So I don't think we ever made a connection, mate.
Yeah, no, there's.
I could see
Not.
you pottering about in your kitchen and feeding the gulls, but there was no click. I never got through to you.
Right, okay.
No, it didn't work. It didn't work. Beats and types. We didn't get the message through because I'm going. We'll talk about telepathy this week. No. What was that? I sent you a message on Wednesday, and it goes, "Have you had any thoughts about what you'd like to talk about this week?" And you went, "No, none at all."
I had been thinking about it, but the problem is when I actually try and think about something, there's usually nothing comes up. It has to. The ideas usually come to mind when I'm not thinking about the thing that I'm trying to have an idea about.
Yeah, yeah.
But that's the thing. I mean, this is one of my issues with telepathy, because I'm fascinated by it, always have been. And I think one of the sci-fi series that does the best exploration of not just the nature of telepathy itself and the ability that it gives people, but all of the politics around it. Because in the Babylon 5 universe, telepaths spring up sometime in the year, in it's sort of late 2000s kind of thing, 2060 or something like that. But the problem is that all of the people who are not telepathic.
2060.
Well, that's just I'm not
Oh,
sure.
you're just throwing numbers out there.
Oh, it was 2021-62 or something. I don't remember. Anyway, the point being that I don't want to kind of bore everyone with the details of the story, but essentially telepaths spring up on Earth pretty much out of nowhere, seemingly.
Mm-hmm.
And the issues that it creates in society, in terms of having one group of people who are capable of reading another group of people's minds. And so on Earth, they create an organization called the Psychor. And so as soon as a telepath is identified, usually in childhood,
Mm-hmm.
they're essentially taken away from their parents and raised by the core. And this organization ends up with large amounts of power, obviously, because they're all bloody telepaths, and has a very negative, deleterious impact on human society.
The Labour Party.
Well, and the other thing about well, yeah, pretty much. It's like the
Right.
Labour Party, but they can read your mind.
There
It'd be
you
like
go.
Keir Starmer is able to actually read everybody's minds and just hates people even more because they're all. I mean, you only have to look at. You can do a search on Twitter
Yeah.
where you can see replies sent to an account. So it's @, Kira_Starmer, and then CUNT. And you can just scroll through pages and pages and pages and pages and pages of people calling him a CUNT. And so,
And there
yeah, I mean, if
you
you
heard it here first, people. how to find every reference where Mr. Starmer has been called a useful thing, which is something that he actually isn't.
well, no, but you know what I mean. Anyway,
Yeah.
the point being that he's not very popular at all. Anyway, but
No,
if
he's
he was
not.
telepathic, can you imagine
Oh,
how
God.
much more of a nightmare a government would be if they had telepaths?
Maybe we should all try that. Maybe we should just sit there and go, if an evening, when you've got 5 minutes, just sit back and go, I shall envisage the dear leader, and I shall send him pleasing thoughts. How does that sound?
I don't want to send him pleasing thoughts,
No,
and
don't
the
spoil
thoughts
it.
that the thoughts that I would send
You
him
can't
would
wish
probably
harm on
get me
people.
arrested anyway.
No, shush.
Yeah, but can you imagine that? You wouldn't even be able to think about harming anyone.
Freaking hell. That's just like, what's that? What was that Tom Cruise movie? Minority Report. Pre-crime. Well, I think we're already there, aren't we? We've already got pre-crime. I mean, I
They're
think
not far off it.
Count Dankula was pretty much pre-crime. Well, it was prejudged crime because if I'm remembering correctly, the sheriff actually told him what he meant by what he did, rather than him having to explain himself. The sheriff said, "No, I don't believe you meant that. I believe you didn't do it as a joke. You did it deliberately to wind up people." Yeah. Oh, come on. I mean, see, this is the whole thing. This is ridiculous. And we're back to last night already. The test is meant to be, would a reasonable person think that? And regardless of what you say, you cannot say that a judge or a sheriff or whatever is ever a reasonable person, because they deal with this shit day in, day out, right?
And
So,
especially not in 2024.
Exactly, because they've all been influenced, haven't they?
Well, I just see a massive deterioration in all levels of government since the Rona. And people who should be in jail are running the country.
Yeah.
And people who shouldn't be in jail. And just compliments on your show last night. I listened to it and, well, part watched it and part listened to it this afternoon.
Well, thank you.
And I thought you did a really fair and balanced job over it, because ultimately you were very careful about what you said, and I thought on the whole, it was a good bit of analysis. And yeah, I mean, it's such a crazy situation, but in the context of the topic of tonight's show,
Yeah.
can you imagine those bastards having telepathy? Oh my God.
Jesus. But imagine being a telepath, like you said, and hearing everybody that hated you.
Well, that was the other thing that I was gonna. The other aspect of telepathy that Babylon 5 deals with quite well is the impact it has on the actual telepath. Because when usually the ability comes to kids in a moment of stress, usually pre-teen, sometimes when they're in puberty, and it hits them all at once, and suddenly they can hear everybody's voices. Now, can you imagine being in a crowded room?
Can I just qualify something? Are you still in the Babylon 5 universe at this point?
No. I'm
Are you talking
that.
generalities now?
Well, yeah.
Reality.
Do
you think telepathy exists then?
No. I don't.
Right. Okay.
All.
Right. Sorry.
No. This is. I'm using Babylon 5 as the example.
Right. Okay. Right. So we are still in the Babylon 5 universe.
Oh yeah.
Right,
No, because I mean, just complete clarity. I don't believe that telepaths exist.
Do you
mean,
not?
I've heard some. Well, I've seen some convincing astral projection stuff,
Mm-hmm.
research that the CIA did,
Mm-hmm.
um, but I haven't seen anything convincing. Because I mean, are we talking about someone who maybe can pick up a stray thought, or an actual telepath who can hear everyone's thoughts
No, I think
around them?
what we're talking about more. I think we're talking more along the lines of you get almost a bit like remote viewing or something like that, where you get an impression or you get a strong feeling or you suddenly think, oh, the phone's going to ring and the phone rings, you know? Those kind of things is more like,
But that's not really telepathy, though.
well, what would you call it then?
Jung called it synchronicity. It's that feeling where you're thinking about a friend that you haven't thought about for ages, and suddenly you get a phone call from them.
Yeah.
That the sort of thing that you're talking about?
Yeah, possibly, yeah.
And that's what Carl Jung called synchronicity. And I'm not
But
listen,
there's
I'm
more
not
to it than that because we're talking about things like, you know, if we're talking about things like remote viewing, then what is it? What is remote viewing other than kind of picking up the? I don't know what is remote viewing. Does it
well,
exist? It
extra
seems to.
ESP, extrasensory perception, they called it. The ability to perceive things outside of your normal senses, or outside of the
Yeah.
normal senses that we understand. Perhaps people who have that ability, because I mean, as always with this show, I'm agnostic about it. I don't necessarily believe that they're actual telepaths, because if there were, they'd have masses of power to
Mhm.
start with.
What about
And
twins? Because you always look at twins, don't you? And one twin can tell when another twin's in danger or something's happened or they've been injured or.
sure, I mean,
And there
I
does seem
don't.
to be verified instances of that, but I'm not sure how often it actually happens.
Well, there are some spiritually minded people who say that we're all connected. And if you think about non-local quantum causality and some of the weird stuff that
Yeah.
happens at the quantum level, and I also believe that our senses are very limited. And I think that we have an energy field, the chakras, in the Indians call them. And I believe that some people are capable of seeing other people's auras. I think we can certainly feel them. It's like when you get too physically close to someone that you don't like, the 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 repulsion is almost physical sometimes. It's like opposite ends of a magnet that are
Hmm.
where you just do not want to be in the same area as that. Or if you're walking or sitting somewhere like in an airport or something, and someone comes and stands behind you, that's something that drives me crazy, particularly if I'm working and I have someone standing just over my shoulder. That drives me nuts. I usually push my chair back, and try and get them the hell out of my
I
personal
love
space.
I love doing that to coders. It always
So,
upsets them.
yeah, no, and the thing is that you usually get your feet run over by
No,
my
I
chair
don't.
wheel
I
if you're
don't.
not careful.
I'm too smart for that.
I know, in your case, I'd have my bloody bokken and you just get a smack round the back of the head. But the point is that there's a difference between telepathy and because for me, the definition of telepathy is being able to actually read people's minds and being able to hear the thoughts of the people around you.
Right. So you're taking quite a high level view of it that you've got to be able to read what people are thinking and I'm I was kind of looking at telepathy as more like, just maybe even just getting impressions and
Okay.
feelings.
Well,
I mean, could we talk? We didn't talk about the rabbits live, did we, last week?
no.
No, right. So, it, if we talk about the rabbits in a sensitive manner, so the CIA and you've heard of Operation Stargate, yeah.
Hmm.
The CIA's look into remote viewing and telepathy and telekinesis and all that. And actually, I meant to send it to you earlier. I've downloaded the whole thing. I've got all 74 pages. Marked top secret. Not for foreign consumption and limited distribution. So I don't know if I've done something wrong here.
Well, if you get a knock on the door, you'll know.
But
Although
I think
usually those classified documents, once they've been
declassified,
declassified,
it's been declassified. It's approved for release 2001.
Mm-hmm.
So 2nd of April 2001. So close, but no cigar. So yeah, I was, and the CIA seemed to indicate that they think there's evidence that telepathy, to a degree, exists. And of course, while the CIA are doing this, there's obviously, it's leaking like a sieve, and what's it? The Soviets have picked up on what the CIA are doing and thinking, well, there might be military connotations here, especially when it comes to trying to communicate with submarines, because water's a fantastic blocker for electromagnetic radiation, so it's really difficult to get a signal to a submarine. And there was some speculation that HARP was doing that with ultra low frequency or whatever, sending really low frequency sound waves through the submarines. But apparently the Russians did this test where they took a rabbit that had just given birth and took its babies away and put them on a submarine, took them out in the submarine, and it's under the water.
As you do.
This is quite gross and gory. And they had the mother rabbit that had its newborn babies taken away from it in the lab, and they'd wired it up, and then they would just randomly terminate one of the babies, and every time they did, they got a spike on the mother's brainwaves that showed extreme stress.
Well, yeah. I mean, I think
that's quite horrible. It's horrible, but
it's awful,
intriguing as well.
I think sometimes humans should wonder whether they can do something, but whether they should. And
we do that all the time. I mean, really, don't we?
Yeah, and I don't know. It's just I don't think you can call it progress if it's based on the suffering of a living creature. And it's not. I mean, it's different to if you're killing an animal to eat it.
Yeah.
For example, then that's one thing, and you're actually. But I mean, there's just randomly killing a little baby bunny for scientific value. I mean, I don't know. I just think some scientists are cruel bastards sometimes, and
yeah, that's true.
But I mean, cruelty aside, I think that if we're energetically connected to any other being, it's to our mother, and the bond that develops between a mother and child in the womb, and the way that the human brain works, because we still don't understand how the brain works. I mean, it's entirely possible that the brain may well be capable of connecting to some. I don't know. How would a mother bunny be connected to one of her babies if the baby is in a submarine? There must be some sort of quantum. It has to be. It's not through the air. It can't be. I mean, it has to be on some sort of different level.
Can we go back to one consciousness? If we are one consciousness, if we have one consciousness, and ultimately that baby rabbit was returning to that consciousness, at that point, did the mother get a spike because she's part of the consciousness? I don't know. I mean, this is all it's pretty much out there, but to be fair, I don't think you can't easily discount or verify this kind of stuff. This is pretty much one of those weird conversations that we won't come up with any answers, but we'll have fun talking about it. Yeah.
Well, that's usually the objective of these shows, is to have fun talking about something and hopefully be a bit interesting and entertaining for users, or viewers. Sorry, I've been
Users.
dealing with users all day, man.
Users.
No, you're not users.
You just
No,
use us for your
just
gratification. If you
viewers.
feel that you would like to help us out instead of just using us for gratification, you could always drop us some support at ko-fi.com/chasing descent. Carry on.
That was nice. That was nice. He slid in there. I'm impressed.
Yeah, I'm getting better at these. I'm getting better at
because
these.
I've been working on a project dealing with my boss all day and talking about how users are going to do this and how users are going to do that. So yeah, I just had that stuck in my brain. But the point is that I do think that all beings are connected in some way, whether that's a connection that we perceive directly, which I think we do sometimes.
Yeah.
I think that we do have a more special connection with our own mother than we do with any other being, because obviously that's where our energy starts.
Uh-huh.
And the kind of the bond that mothers have with their kids, and some of the stories you hear where mothers just know that something has happened and it turns out to have happened and things like that. And it is that, I mean, I'm happy to accept your definition of telepathy for the show.
Okay.
Because yeah, I mean, the way that I think about it is more high level, and you'd have to come up with lots of different names for every different aspect of it.
Yeah.
But if we're talking about telepathy on that level, then yeah, I'm sure it exists.
Yeah.
Because there's so many stories that just don't have any other explanation.
Okay. Right. So I mean the trial room's going on about the pineal gland. Janet seems to be getting right into it. So the pineal gland, a small endocrine gland found in most vertebrates, which produces melatonin in humans, located in the epithalamus, in a groove where the two halves of the thalamus join. Its shape and size resembles a pine nut, after which it is named. Yeah,
Also,
okay.
it's also similarly shaped to the Eye of Horus.
Yeah,
I think
yeah.
it's the Eye of Horus.
And there's all those pine cones that are depicted on carvings and pagan rituals and all that kind of stuff.
Well,
so
that's theoretically the third eye. I mean, when you hear talk of the third eye, it's the pineal gland that they're referring to.
How's that meant to work? I mean, all it does is produce melatonin, surely.
Well,
I mean, it's right on top of the brain.
It's. I think
looking at this, it's right.
Melatonin production. I don't think that the pineal gland is just a melatonin production factory. I think that it has. I think more. Yes, much more.
So people talk about it being calcified by fluoride. Does that happen? I don't know this. This is something we're in new territory. Have people done autopsies and seen a calcified pineal gland? I don't know. You know,
I think there are actually pictures of it online. If you do an image search for calcified pineal gland, you may well find them. And I don't know if fluoride has that effect, but it wouldn't surprise me. And I do think the pineal gland does more than just produce melatonin. Exactly what it does, I don't know. But there's plenty of I wouldn't say evidence, but there's a lot of very interesting theories out there about, because it could be connected to the chakras as well.
Right. Okay, but before we go into chakras, right? Here we go. Pineal gland calcification and how to decalcify it. But the calcified pineal gland, also known as pineal gland calcification, is a common phenomenon where calcium deposits accumulate in the pineal gland, a small endocrine gland located in the brain. Right. Okay. So apparently the pineal gland is not fully protected by the blood-brain barrier. That's quite interesting, because that would indicate that, you know, that would your pineal gland tends to calcify as you age. While some calcification is normal, excessive calcification can prevent your pineal gland from functioning properly. Okay, well let's have a look at this. This is the Cleveland Clinic. And It's a tiny gland in your brain located between blah blah. Yeah, okay. It's shaped like a tiny pine cone. That's how it got its name. Part of the endocrine system. A network of several glands that create and secrete hormones. Blah 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 blah. Melatonin. I'm just trying to catch up. What is a
I
pineal
think
gland?
it's also
Right, the
potentially
main
disrupted by
function.
EMF.
Well, actually, it says here, and this is the Cleveland Clinic, so while we're not doctors and this is not medical advice, the Cleveland Clinic's quite well known, aren't they? But anyway, the main function of
Well, they're
pineal,
mainstream.
yeah, the main function of pineal gland is to receive information about the daily light dark, i.e., day night cycle from the retinas in your eyes, and then produce and release melatonin accordingly. Elevated levels at night during the dark hours and low levels during the day during the light hours. Well, of course, that's why it's called the third eye, because it actually does respond to light.
Well, yeah, but then what else? I don't know. I think that we understand so little about how the brain actually works that to say definitively that that's all we know that the pineal gland does. I don't know. I think that there's potentially more to it, and some of these abilities
Oh, well,
that
you know
we've
what,
been
mate?
talking about.
Oh, of course there is, because, I mean, we discover new things all the time, right? And there's stuff like, I mean, that fascia, that the thing that covers everything. I mean, they reckon that's an organ now. It covers all your
Right?
muscles, and it's everywhere in your body, and it's called fascia or the epithelium or something like that. And they reckon that's an actual organ. It's under your skin. It's going to be the biggest organ in your body.
Yeah,
So
I've heard that too.
yeah, so that's fairly new. And then there are brain-like neurons in your heart.
Well, I was actually reading an interesting story from the other day on Twitter that apparently heart transplant patients have
Mhm.
been reported as having personality changes.
Yeah,
They've been
and
reported
liking
as
different things and stuff like that.
liking different
Like,
things, having actual memories in some cases.
yeah, and
Um,
actually taking up sporting activities that they've never even thought of doing, and suddenly becoming very good at it.
mhm. And there's also a gut-brain connection as well,
Yes, there is.
because
Yeah.
things like serotonin are actually produced in your gut,
Mhm.
and the link between gut health and overall health is massively important. But it's also those old expressions like "I feel it in my gut," for
Yeah.
example, um, and also the notion of just the notion of the heart, because the heart is for us, it's not just an organ; it also represents all sorts of things. I mean, the heart represents courage, it represents love, it represents the some of the best qualities of humanity are represented by the heart, like things like courage, love, that sort of thing.
So maybe
And what?
when you're told not to think with your heart but think with your head, you're being lied to.
Well, it depends on what you need. I think that, I mean, one of my rules in life is that when it comes to logical stuff like work decisions or things like that,
Mhm.
um, I'm ruled by my head. But there are certain decisions that I've made, one of which was to come to England to go to university, which they weren't based on logic. I wasn't doing it because it made sense. I was doing it because I felt like I had to, and that motivation didn't come from my brain. It came from somewhere else. I'm not sure whether it was my gut or my heart. I think it's probably my gut.
Yeah.
But then also, when you fall in love with someone, for example, that is something that you actually feel in your actual heart sometimes. Um, and so do those, is that the brain projecting that emotion into that part of the body? Or is that part of the body actually generating that emotion in the first place?
That's a good question, mate. It's a good question.
And if so, how does that then relate to telepathic abilities? For example, if particular emotions are generated in the gut or the heart,
Uh-huh.
does that leak out somehow energetically? Because, like animals, for example, if there's so many, I mean, most pet owners will probably have experienced this, where you're feeling really upset and you're not necessarily bawling your eyes out or giving much indication of being upset, but your pet will know. And the cat or the dog, they'll come up and they'll cuddle you and they'll start showing you loads of affection. How does that work? How does the animal pick up on that? And if that's the case, does that then is that then picking up on your heart? Or is that then picking up on your brain waves or breathing? Different I don't know. I mean, I'm just throwing shit out there.
Yeah, no, and it's all good shit. So Julie says,
It's good shit, man.
yeah, good shit, man. Julie says my pets are sensitive to me. Yeah, well, I mean, you get these. Well, what's his name? Not Richard Dawkins, the other guy, Rupert Sheldrake, right?
Richard Dawkins is a knob.
He he doesn't have a very endearing personality, shall we say?
It really doesn't. I have this intense dislike for him simply because he's so up his own arse and
Mhm.
he's so I can't
A bit
stand
like
people
Jordan
who
Peterson.
oh, he's another one. He's an insufferable bore and an insufferable know-it-all and just generally utterly insufferable.
A bit like
Uh,
Stephen King.
oh, he's just a dickhead.
Oh, he dropped a clanger today. Did you see it?
Yeah, I saw your comment saying, Elon Musk, don't you think it's time to not pay for his blue tick anymore?
Well, I think that's fair.
Well,
Considering,
imagine being Stephen King and being too stingy to pay $10 a
I know he
month
was
for
going to
your.
leave
I
Twitter,
mean,
so Elon said, "I'll pay for your blue tick."
he's not exactly adding anything positive to Twitter. He's a miserable old codger.
Yeah, but what he tweeted today shows a remarkable lack of either isolation in that he knew nothing about it, which I find hard to believe because he's on Twitter all the fucking time, right? So he either knew nothing about Southport or he completely disregarded it when he made that tweet. But,
In
in response
America,
to the school shooting.
he probably wasn't paying attention.
He's a twat. He really
Oh, he's a
is.
complete twat. And also, the other thing about Stephen King is that if you read his tweets, you wouldn't think he's one of the most best-selling authors on the planet. I mean, if you read some of the stuff that J.K. Rowling comes out with, that woman is just an absolute, whether you agree with her or not,
Yeah.
and there's a lot of people that don't like her,
Yeah.
but she is a mistress of Twitter. Some of the stuff
Oh,
that she
yeah.
comes out with is just genius. And you just think, yeah, I sometimes think you see people trying to argue with her, and it's just like, look, you're trying to have a word of war of words with the woman who wrote the entire Harry Potter series. What the hell are you doing?
Yeah.
But then you look at Stephen King, and he's just so dull.
Angry.
Yeah,
but
like he's a
so
dull, angry, bitter old man.
I forgot. He did nearly die. He got ran down while walking. I don't know the circumstances, but he nearly died, and apparently since then he's been very angry. But regardless of that, I keep winding him up because I think I'm winding him up because I keep saying Dean Koontz is a better writer.
It probably has. I don't know. I mean, the thing with those big accounts is you may well actually, because now you've got a verified account, he's potentially more likely to see one of your replies.
Yeah. So I might get some
But I mean,
pushback.
you can't imagine what the notifications are like for an account that's got. I mean, how many followers he's got? 1 million
Oh
plus.
yeah, I know it's crazy.
And I mean, I've got 18K and my notifications are bloody mental. So I can't imagine what it's like if you're posting stuff like that. Do they even go through their notifications? I think some of them do.
It's hard to say.
But anyway, I mean, but also with Stephen King, you just think for someone to write that many horror books, his brain must be a bag of cats. I mean, seriously, I would not.
Yeah,
Talking about telepathy,
but
you would not want to get in that brain.
he never comes up with a decent ending. His endings are always crap. That's the standing joke. Stephen King can't write an ending. But
I personally have never understood why he was so popular. I've tried reading one of his books and I just didn't
they're
enjoy it.
awful. The exposition goes on for chapter after chapter after. You don't need to know all this shit, and much of it has no bearing on the story. You know, because normally, you know, if let's for instance, if a story starts with somebody getting off a bus and doing something in particular, you'll think, right, that's going to come back into the film or the book somewhere, because that what they did there was out of the ordinary. So that's obviously going to play a part in the story. Not with King, it's not. It's just fucking there. And then he goes off on a tangent. Yeah.
I mean, I can't say I'm a massive fan of horror movies or horror films. Or
I used to be. I used to
horror
love.
books.
Used to love horror. I used to read a lot.
There's so much darkness in the world. I don't see why I'd want to add
Have you
more to
never?
it to my brain just for entertainment. Oh,
Yeah.
well, my ex was really into horror movies, so
You never
I
done
ended up
Lovecraft?
watching them with her.
Edgar Allan Poe. Lovecraft.
Well, Poe is different. I mean, I loved Edgar Allan Poe's poetry as a kid. When I was going through my dark teenage phase, Poe was a companion.
Oh, yeah. Dennis Wheatley. I used to love his books as well.
Never read them.
Ride with the Devil and all that kind of thing. They made a movie of that. A lot of the Hammer movies were made on his book.
Right.
But yeah. I mean, I've been into a lot of horror. Dean Koontz, Stephen King's just not a good read. You know, he's just not a good read at all. And then I had my war phase when I went through all of Sven Hassel's stuff. I was only about 12 when I went through that. That was just mental.
Never even heard of him.
Oh, you've not heard of Sven Hassel? Oh my God, he wrote about an SS penal battalion in World War II.
That's why I haven't heard of him or read it.
Just absolutely, absolutely freaking mental. Brilliant stuff, though. Brilliant stuff.
Right. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, see, this is the thing, because people don't read anymore, so you don't get that. You don't get to make up environments in your head anymore, because you watch it on TV, and then if you've read something and then watch it on TV, you go, well, that's not how I would have done that. I mean, and that's probably the people that read, what's his name, George R.R. Martin, when they read his stuff, they probably watched Game of Thrones and thought, well, that's shite. That's not how I envisaged him. That's not how I envisaged her. I
watched the first Game of Thrones series and then read four of the books in between, waiting for the first and the second series.
What did you think?
Well, the first series tracked with the book.
Yeah,
really
no, I'm not talking about the story, but what about the people and the settings? Did they correlate?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay,
I mean,
good.
But
no, of course, he was quite heavily involved in it, wasn't he, Martin?
Yeah, and I would say I would actually have to agree with you, because it's quite rare. Because I was impressed at how well they matched up, and the feel of the characters, and the clothes that they're wearing, and the rooms that they're in, and the buildings and the castles and everything else. It's when you're reading his books, you're picturing the actual characters, like Peter Dinklage, who played Tyrion Lannister. And I mean, some of the characters are actually, they're brought to life by the character in the TV show. Because, for example, I mean, that's very true with Peter Dinklage, Tyrion. And when you're reading the book, you've got him in your head, and he is so much better in the books, because he gets much more. You read much more about his character development and his origin story and all of that kind of stuff. And he's brilliant. And the other one is Arwen, Macy Williams, who's
the one that ultimately
Ned
kills
Stark's,
the.
yeah,
Yeah, right. Okay.
yeah, Ned Stark's youngest daughter.
Yeah,
Sorry,
right.
Midge. But Game of Thrones is a rarity. I mean, the other one, oh, actually, The Expanse. James
No, I
S. A.
never read the
Corey.
book. Never read the book.
The books again. The thing is that James S. A. Corey is actually two authors. It's a pen name for two guys,
Right.
and those two guys are actually, I think they're friends of George R. Martin. They might be in the same authors group in Houston or something. But they're basically connected. I think it's what's his name? Ty something or other. Anyway, but those, I mean, if you enjoyed the Expanse TV show, then the books are
Yeah,
bloody brilliant.
I thought the Expanse TV show was pretty damn good for a modern thing, especially on Amazon. You know?
It's very original, but that's also partially because of the books. But again, they did a really good job with the actual translation of the story. And again, as you get further through the books, the two stories from the TV and the books kind of diverge. But the essence is still the same.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Anyway, we've gone off on a tangent.
We have gone off on a tangent, but who cares? I mean, really, who cares? Do you care? Do you care, people? If you do care,
the audience cares.
drop us a note and tell us that you care, and then we'll do our best to try and stay on a tangent.
Stay off the tangent, you mean?
Yeah, stay off it.
But the tangents are fun because the whole point is just having a conversation, and we could be sitting in a pub having a conversation, but you're in Scotland and I'm in Brighton, so that's kind of a rather large distance. So this works.
Yeah, it does. It does work.
And I mean, ultimately, telepathy is just one of those things. It's so. What do you think? What do you think about remote viewing? Because some of there are people out there that claim to be able to do all sorts of things.
Right, so I started watching this podcast on YouTube called what's it called? Oh God, some guy called Rob Kuntz and somebody else who claims to be a remote viewer, right? And is it called Mystical or something? I can't remember. I can't remember what it's called. But anyway, so this guy, the sidekick, claims to be a remote viewer, and the spiel is I'm Rob Kuntz, I'm a researcher, and the other guy goes, and I'm John something or another, I'm a remote viewer. And then he talks about things that he remote viewed, and it's like, I just don't believe him. I just don't believe him. Do you know how sometimes when you speak to people, they're genuine? And this might be part of, maybe not telepathy, but empathy or some kind of, picking up the vibes you get. I mean, and let's face it, you shouldn't be picking up that kind of vibe off of a TV screen. No. Well, you can, because obviously you're reading body language subconsciously and stuff like that. So
but I think,
disregard that statement. I'm talking shite.
Well, I think humans are actually adapting to screens and to this technology because ultimately we're emotional creatures, and people have the ability to, let's say, tickle your emotions at a distance without you ever having even met them.
Yeah.
And that's sometimes good because they can tickle them in a good way, and sometimes it's bad because they tickle them in a bad way.
Yeah. I saw Johnny and John earlier. Yeah.
Let's no.
Let's not open that can of worms.
No. Keep your bloody box closed, Pandora. Jesus. But the point being that I think I get that with podcasters too. Sometimes there's some stuff that I watch where you instantly. I mean, it's like the Y-Files is a good example.
Yeah.
AJ, he's really. It just seems like a really nice bloke. The kind of person you'd be happy to go out for dinner with and just take him.
I like the Y-Files, and I
like the Y-Files too.
I really liked it until I started fucking throwing AI pictures at it all the time. And I know exactly where he's coming from, because it's really easy to do. And it saves you having to spend fucking hours going through, Google or whatever, or trawling the web looking for pictures about things that you want to talk about, right? But it's shit. They're just shit.
Well, the thing is that it's like every time someone comes out with something new, people will just do it to death, and it'll be it'll be like the crazy frog ringtone. When ringtones were a thing, you had that stupid crazy frog
Oh,
thing, and
geez.
for a while,
Yeah.
every single bastard had that on their phone.
They did. And then people started putting fucking car horns that made that noise, and yeah.
But and then it died off, and then after that, people went back to now you have people that have snazzy iPhones that sound like a 1950s ringing telephone. It's like I just want it to sound like a ringing phone kind of thing. But the point is that I think AI is still a new toy, and so people are doing everything with it, and it's all getting I agree, it's all a bit much, but I do think it's also going to settle down, and people will realize, actually, no, that's taking the piss a bit, and they'll also learn how to use it better. And it'll then just slowly become part. It's like the mobile phone itself.
Yeah, it'll be incorporated, won't it?
And when they first came out, it was a whole suitcase you had to carry around. And then they got down to the size of a brick.
Yeah.
And now they're so thin that you practically lose the bloody thing, and they're foldable ones and everything else. But it takes time to kind of integrate that. Although with phones, I think we're going the wrong way.
Explain that last statement.
Well, in the sense that I think people are becoming addicted to their phones, me included.
Yeah.
And it's gone from being a useful tool that you can use to stay in touch with people, to something that has far too much influence and control over one's life, moods, everything else. I mean, the ability for social media, particularly, to impact one's mood if you're not mindful of it. I mean, that's how that whole thing that you were talking about last night about Lucy happened. Because you're in a situation where you're bombarded with information 24/7, and it's all pretty bad. And then something happens that's really, really bad. And maybe you've had a few too many glasses of wine of an evening or whatever, and you don't stop and think before you bash something out. And then suddenly you've given the evil bastard government an excuse to come after you.
Yeah.
But at the same time, she does feel very much like an example is being made. And it's also the way that every single time she's referred to,
Tory
it's never
councillor's
as
wife.
and it's like there's some aspect of the opposing side that has won the election that they're just rubbing their faces in it. It's almost like it makes for such good headlines in the Labour supporting press, and just the press generally. And I think it's to actually think that I never thought I would see stuff like this happening in the United Kingdom.
I think it's a complete and utter travesty. I really do.
I
mean,
it's
disgusted by it.
Kafkaesque.
That is.
It's like
you're right. You're right. That is Kafkaesque.
And it's the sort of thing when I was a kid that we were told this is the sort of thing that happens in the Soviet Union, and this is the sort of thing that happened in Germany in the 1930s,
and the Stasi,
or Pol Pot,
or Chairman Mao,
exactly.
Stalin. Yeah, somebody said today. What was it? Because people are going on about, is it Churchill's birthday or something? I don't know, but they're going on about Churchill being the greatest leader ever or whatever, won World War II and all this. And somebody goes, and somebody was actually trying.
That interview Tucker Carlson did. I can't remember the guy's name.
But somebody was trying to stick up for Hitler, right? And that's going to be a hard sell, right? I mean, let's be honest. Sticking up for Hitler is always going to be a hard sell. But this guy was trying to stick up for Hitler, and somebody came back at him going, so should the rest of the world just have stood back while Hitler did his thing, right? And me being me, I had to drop in, and I said, "Well, we did for Stalin, Pol Pot, Mao, so
Netanyahu.
well, we've done it for everyone else, but we didn't do it for Hitler. Why? I don't know. Was it just too close to home?
I'm not gonna go. I'm not gonna go down the Hitler thing because
Yeah, no, that's fair.
but I do think that Churchill is a villain rather than a hero, personally. If you actually look at his historical record,
Yeah,
and also the other thing about World War II that not many people know about. I mean, we know about the firebombing of Dresden, which was totally unnecessary, and a city that wasn't a strategic target at all, and there were loads of refugees there. That was just barbaric.
Yeah.
We know about the Japanese being ready to surrender before the Americans dropped the atomic bomb on Hiroshima and Nagasaki. But not many people know that there was that hundreds of thousands of German POWs were basically put in fields and effectively left to die.
Mm-hmm.
That there was, and that was done by the Allies. I can't remember the location. The point being that war is ugly, but to say that the Allies were these kind of knights in shining armor that never put a foot wrong is historically inaccurate.
Well, yeah, of course it is. Because, as always, Ed, who writes history?
Victor, absolutely.
Exactly. Yeah.
And history is very complicated, and there are certain aspects of World War II that you can't criticize or you can get arrested. I mean, in Germany, you can get put in prison for. I mean, C.J. Hopkins.
David Irving. David Irving got imprisoned in Hungary for writing a book about it.
Yep.
Not Hungary, Austria. Sorry.
Mm-hmm.
He got imprisoned.
Yeah, a German called Ernst Sundell was locked up in Germany for questioning the you know what.
Yeah.
And we're not here to raise questions, historical questions like that.
Well, not in this show, but
no. But I mean, the point that we're trying to make is that surely we should be allowed to ask the questions. What's wrong with asking questions?
If you can't ask the question, then somebody's hiding something somewhere. That's my view.
What I always think. That is exactly what I thought. And that was one of my things about when the whole Rona started, and also climate change. When you look at what happened with the ClimateGate emails, and the fact that if you have to establish consensus by censoring everybody that disagrees with you, then you don't have a consensus. You have an autocracy.
But science has never been about consensus.
No.
Science
and the new ideas,
is either you're right or you're wrong. And it doesn't matter how many people are wrong. They're never fucking right. You know?
Yeah. And what ClimateGate showed is that they are wrong, but they're instead of admitting, look, guys, we got this wrong. We don't need to spend all this money on stupid wind turbines and even stupider electric cars. What they just manipulate the data. There is so much. I mean, you've got temperature stations, the ghost stations. John Shuchuk on Twitter tracks them.
I think something like 50% of temperature data is just made up now.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you got Michael Mann and his famous hockey stick or infamous hockey stick. I mean, there's so much. If the observations don't fit their preconceived ideas, then they just change the data so it matches up.
The same thing happens with physics, right? So you know, the rotation of the galaxy doesn't tie in with the amount of matter we've got in it. So what do? We don't look at it and think, well, how can we change? How can we explain what's actually happening with what we can see? we make up, dark matter and dark energy that you can't measure and can't see and can't actually determine if it actually exists because it has to be there. Yeah. It has to be there to make your theory work. But other than that, so your theory's wrong.
Yeah.
If you've got to make shit up to prove your theory's wrong. Go back to the fucking drawing board.
And that's it. I mean, it's actually kind of sad because you've got these people who are essentially dedicating their entire lives and throwing loads of time and energy into a fundamentally wrong theory that they're just having to make up loads of bollocks just to like make it all fit in, make the whole thing fit together.
Yeah, because that's their life's work. You imagine if you've been working on something for 30 years or something, you're a theoretical physicist, so you've been sitting around reading books and thinking about things for 30 years, and you think, I've got this figured out, you put your theory out, and then suddenly somebody comes up with an observation 3 years down the line and goes, your theory's shit. And you're like, fuck! 30 years of my life wasted! Yeah.
And it's, it sucks, but ultimately that is what science is.
That is, yeah.
And I think if the profession was fundamentally more honest, then maybe you wouldn't have people wasting 30 years of their lives on something that they probably early on in their career, they probably had someone say, well, are you sure that actually makes sense? And you're not adding it up together. And instead of just being honest and admitting it, then you just plow on for 30 years. And then suddenly conclusive proof comes along that you were totally wrong. And your whole ego is basically destroyed. I mean, that's like putting your ego in a blender.
Yeah. Oh.
So, I mean, I get it. You're knackered, aren't you?
I'm fine. I'm just flicking through the Stargate slides just to see if there's any Operation Stargate.
Stargate slides?
Yeah, Operation Stargate.
Oh, right, that one. Yeah, no, I always get confused with the TV show.
Oh, no, not the TV show. So 1930 to 1960, Duke University, Durham, North Carolina. 1950 to present day, Parapsychology Foundation, New York. 1960 to present, Mind Science Foundation, San Antonio. There's a stack of people still working on all this shit.
But it makes you wonder what new discoveries they've come out with. I mean, I did a little bit of cursory research, and I suspect that anything that they have come out with is probably secret or classified or whatever you call it.
Yeah.
But it's also, I mean, we fundamentally still don't understand how the brain works.
No, we don't.
And to then discount, you can't say conclusively that humans aren't capable of telepathy, just because we don't understand how that mechanism might work, and because maybe there's some aspect of physics that we're missing, or some aspect of, I don't know.
Pet? Other than those fucking seagulls, have you got a pet?
No, I used to.
Have you had a dog or anything like that?
No. Apart from when we were kids.
It's like, see, when you sit there, right? And this might sound off topic, but I'm getting there. See, when you sit there in the house or whatever, and you're sitting there and you're watching the telly or something, and you look down, and the dog's just looking at you, and it's just looking right at you in your eyes, and you look at the dog, and the dog looks at you, and then no, no, but you're looking at the dog, and the dog's looking at you,
bastard.
And
you're
thinking, what the fuck is that dog thinking? And the dog's sitting there thinking, what the fuck is that guy thinking? But there's something. It's weird. It's really, dogs are really fucking weird. Because they do that. They look at you right in the eye. And you look right back at them, and they don't flinch. Well, sometimes they do, but you look right back at them.
The little girl Stephanie is actually a little bit like that. I have this I have the pet theory, and you're going to think I'm completely mental, but
Mm-hmm.
I have a theory that my because I used to have a little white cat called Lola who had 3 legs, and she was just the sweetest. I mean, she you couldn't pick her up, and she'd had a really hard start to her life, but she was the sweetest cat ever.
Mm-hmm.
And she died a few years ago, and I still miss her. And I actually have a theory that the female girl Stephanie is actually my reincarnated cat.
Do you?
Yeah. Well, there's just
Well,
something because
right. No, okay. Let's explore. Let's explore this for a
well,
minute.
okay, let me explain why I think this.
Go on.
To start with, I lived here for 23 years, and
Mm-hmm.
before I ever had any contact with seagulls, I've never had seagulls tapping on my window.
Okay.
I never encouraged those gulls. I never put food out for them. They actually started coming to my window and tapping incessantly, and literally, you are going to feed us, or we are just going to not stop tapping ever. And there is something about the way that little gull looks at me that just reminds me of my cat. I can't explain it. One is a gull, one is a cat, but there is something about that gull that reminds me of my cat.
That's weird.
And it is very weird. And the only explanation I can come out with is that the cat's being reincarnated as a seagull. Which, if reincarnation is an actual thing, then that's not outside the realm of possibility.
Oh, it's not. It's certainly not.
And yeah, and I tell you what, the cat was fussy about her food, and the bloody seagull's fussy about her food
Oh,
as well.
I've never
I
seen a
mean,
seagull fussy about anything. I've seen a
me
seagull eat
neither.
a fucking rat.
Literally, I mean, Smeagol, the seagull, will eat anything. And Stephanie, if it's not to her liking, or she wants some mackerel, she will literally just turn her
How,
nose up at everything.
I mean, I don't think these creatures even taste food because they just tip their head back and it goes straight down.
Um,
It's not like they can chew.
no, they can taste it, because sometimes if I've given them things like gherkin. And particularly when I was actually trying to get rid of Smeagol to start with, and I was giving him stuff with loads of chili sauce on it, and you'd see him eat it and shake his head like he was,
I'm not
you know,
having
if you
that
have
again.
something, well, no, if you know, if you have something really
Yeah,
vinegary and
yeah.
it's kind of, yeah, it's a bit like that. Seagulls do that. And the other thing is that when they want food and I'm just washing up and the kitchen window's open, they'll literally fly across, sit there, and then they'll look at me. And when they catch my gaze, they'll actually smack their beaks together, like they're licking their lips or something, that they want food. It's
Oh, good
crazy.
God. That's crazy. That is crazy.
And they're annoying little bastards. I mean, to be honest, I don't mind them in the winter, because they don't show up at
Yeah.
4:30, 5 o'clock in the bloody morning.
Yeah, they don't fly at night, do they?
And also, just before they kick the babies out, literally they're feeding them 5 times a day, and it drives me absolutely. They drive me nuts for about a month during the summer. But
Here's
on the positive side,
right. Let's try and get back on topic. Here's
well,
here,
telepathic seagulls.
yeah, okay. Right. Here's one from Janet. Ed, we are all reincarnated. Apparently, my friend, a journalist who has written books about it, assures me it is not sure I want to come back to Earth. Maybe I can get to another planet. Well,
Yeah, but
why? Why do you think it would be any different?
well, why do you think another planet might be worse? I mean, it might be
Exactly.
better.
Might be worse.
Although, I mean, if you can, I guess if you can reincarnate multiple times and you can jump around, it'd be interesting to explore another planet. I mean,
Yeah, see, but this
existing
is
for an alien's lifetime. I don't
But
know.
this is no, but right, that's fine when you're not here and living it, right? Because you got to remember, you take this apparently this draft of forgetfulness before you become reincarnated, so you can't remember what went before, right? And therefore,
Makes sense.
yeah. So then you have to live the whole experience that you're living right now. Now imagine if you lived on a planet where you were like a tripod or something like that and didn't have a neck, and gravity was so so strong that it was crushing you down all the time, and life was just a daily struggle. It sounds much like just now, doesn't it? But imagine it. I mean,
Starmer's Britain.
it's like fucking hell. I don't know. I really don't. I don't know. I don't know if reincarnation exists or not. It's hard though to explain
the
those
thing,
kids.
That's the one that always does it for me with reincarnation, is that when you see the stories of those kids who swear down and they know there's no possible way that they could know what they know, and they are so adamant about it, and then they go back and they actually realize that all of those events that the child is describing actually happened. To me, that's effectively proof of reincarnation, because we can't there's no it's the old Conan Doyle maxim: once you've eliminated the impossible, whatever remains, however improbable, must be the truth.
Yeah. Okay.
And that's kind of where I'm at with those. And I don't necessarily understand how it works or anything like that. But then there's also all of the Buddhist traditions about reincarnation. There's religions that believe that. And so personally, I'd prefer the thought of reincarnation, even if it's reincarnating on some really crappy planet, than the whole notion that life just ends, because it makes, I don't know.
It makes no
It
sense.
just,
Yeah. I know,
well,
yeah.
it's also from a purely mortal human
Oh yeah, the human condition. Yeah.
perspective. I think it's much more comforting and
Terrifying.
it's a much nicer life thinking that something does happen after you die, rather than that it's just lights out.
So here's one then. Ray says, if you're reincarnated as yourself over and over again, but with slightly different outcomes. So
Be interesting.
well, maybe that's the whole learning experience. You're put
But
here
then
to learn to a certain point, and then once you've passed, fifth grade or whatever you call it, you get to the point where you can move on to something better.
Well,
I don't know.
I think that it's an interesting theory. I'm just not sure about the whole time loops aspect of it, because how does that track with space time?
I left that off deliberately because that doesn't. I don't like that either.
But also, if you're living your own life over and over again in a loop, surely
No,
that
it's
would
not a loop.
that's like Groundhog Day.
Yeah, it's not. Well, yeah, but Groundhog Day had a reason for living his own life. He had to learn something, didn't he?
For the record, I don't want to do Clown World more than once. Just putting that out there. This bullshit is enough for one lifetime.
Well, do you think people? Do you think? Well, for instance, think about it, right? So, what about because there are so many people, and I think we're actually quite a small. Sorry, I'm leaning back too much. I think we're quite a small percentage of people that actually get to a degree that things aren't quite right the way things are.
I think more people sense it, but I think that there's a
They
lot
choose
of people
not
that
to.
have a fear. Yeah, they're either scared to go there, or they don't understand it, or they're not somehow humans. Unfortunately, a lot of humans are very sheep-like, in the sense that they're having some thoughts, but they'll go along with the group, even if going along with the group means going against what they actually secretly think is going on.
Yeah.
And then where you get people waking up, it's because one person says, "Hang on a minute, that there's something that's not right here," and then other people might do that, but it takes bloody ages, and most people will still go with the majority.
Yeah.
Once something becomes a majority view, everybody will be thinking about it, and then suddenly everybody is agreeing. But until you get to that critical mass of people, they're all just with the silent majority.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I think in some cases there's also cognitive dissonance going on.
Oh yeah, there is.
That this idea that when you have a very specific fixed worldview about something, and a piece of information comes along to challenge that worldview,
Mm-hmm.
you fight against it. It's another reason why The Matrix is such a powerful film, because it illustrates that perfectly, where some people are just not ready to be
Yeah,
unplugged.
but most movies, or many movies, illustrate that struggle against authority and authoritarianism, and
Mm.
you know
Yeah, but
that's
none of
not
them.
an unknown thing.
No, but none of them does it quite in the same way as The Matrix.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe that's just the format of the whole being plugged into a machine thing. I don't know, but
Mm-hmm.
there is something about. I mean, we even call them NPCs, non-player characters,
Yeah, we do.
and there are definitely plenty of those around.
There are.
You see them, and I mean, these people who, I don't know, do they not have souls? Do they not have brains? Do they just blindly follow
Yeah,
everything?
it's like
It's like the ones who they could tell you every single thing that every Kardashian's had for breakfast every day for the last 3 months, but they can't hold down a steady job,
yeah,
or tell you who the bloody prime minister or president of the country is.
yeah, quite
Satan's seeds. Yeah, Janet, to be honest, up until 4 years ago, I'd kind of scoffed at the whole idea of Satan and stuff, but given what's happened, the only way I can explain the behavior of certain people is that they are evil, and that there is some that for the good that exists, there is a certain amount of evil as well. And that's the only word for it. I mean, you don't want to be melodramatic or anything like that. It's just, yeah, good and evil. It's the eternal fight. About natural selection, Yazzie. In what sense?
hold the fort for a minute. I'm just nipping to the little boys' room, as they say.
Sure.
Is
I'm
that
just
okay?
waiting for Yazzie to type.
Yeah.
But I mean, it does ultimately. I believe in good and evil, and I'm actually starting to see a level of evil in this world that I didn't think I'd comprehend. I mean, I've been a student of history for a long time, and I never really quite understood how German people could act the way they did in the 1930s and 40s until I saw what's happened in the last 4 years. So, yeah, definitely good and evil. Is there anything else in the chat? Janet, Ray, my friend says, what exactly? I know you're talking to Ray. So yeah, just sit here and stare at the camera until John gets back. No. Remember the champions who do tongue? No, I don't remember that one. Eddie, is that a TV show or film? Don't know. But then here's an interesting thought. Does an evil person get reincarnated as another evil person? Or do evil people not get reincarnated? Is there such thing as hell? Or do they go somewhere else? The Buddhists have this idea about hungry ghosts that kind of just wander around. Where are we? Rain, a lot of films. I wish that heart would get out the bloody way. Sorry, I can't read the whole of Ray's comment because of the stupid YouTube chat interface. Oh, he's back. Feels a bit like talking into the void. You do well doing the shows on your own. I'm not sure how well. That's probably quite difficult. Oh, he's not back yet. Ugh. Right. TV show about telepathy. Oh, right. Okay. I hadn't seen that one. Oh, yeah. YouTube's UI just seems to get worse. The more people that they have to working on it, the just irritating.
What was the TV show about telepathy? The Champions.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Have you seen that one?
I've seen that. Yeah. What was her name? Oh, Bastardo or something. That was a girl, wasn't it? Sharon, I think, was her name in the thing. She was
Okay.
hot. The Champions, yeah, I remember that. Yeah, I'm ancient. I know most things.
I think, I mean, the thing about telepathy is that it's a fascinating subject to talk about, and it's also it's good for a story. I mean, sci-fi stories about stuff like that are great. I mean, in Star Trek, you had Deanna Troi, who's an empath, and so she can't read other people's thoughts, but she can feel what other people are feeling. Which I don't know. I don't know why it seems to me that it's more likely that empaths exist than actual full-blown telepaths. But maybe that's just me. What do you think, John?
I I think empaths are picking up on people's emotions as done, and I don't know quite how every aspect of it works, because you know, you do it yourself. You do it yourself, and you pick up on how people are feeling to a degree. And some people are better at it than others, and whether that's just body language or not, I don't know. But I think maybe that there's slightly more to it.
I think I agree. I think I mean, it is partially body language.
Yeah,
But I think that for example, if someone's in a very bad mood, you can almost feel the anger buzzing around them. It's like I used to work in pubs and clubs when I was a student.
mm-hmm.
Um, and could always get a feel for whether there was going to be, particularly when I was working in Oriana's, which is under a nightclub here in Brighton, where it used to be. It's closed down ages ago, but it was a bit of a meat market, not the most upper class club in the world.
Mm-hmm.
And it was usually the place that would let people in when they got kicked out of every other club.
Yeah.
And you could always get a feel for the nights where there was going to be trouble. It was like there was something in the air, or this, yeah, just a weird. Very difficult to put your finger
Well,
on.
I'll tell you when there was always going to be trouble, right? When there's a full moon.
Full moon. The worst one was when it was the holy trinity of the full moon, the summer heat and air conditioning breaking down. And as soon as the aircon broke down, I always knew there was going to be trouble.
But you know what? As a cop, right, on the night shift, full moon, you always had a rammy somewhere. Seriously.
What the hell's a rammy?
A fight,
Oh, right.
a riot, you know, that kind of thing, yeah. But yeah, full moon always happens on a full moon. You always know. I mean, we used to say it, full moon tonight, things are going to go apeshit, and invariably they did.
So, what is it about the full moon? Is that
telepathy? I don't know. I don't know what the hell it is about the full moon.
I'm not expecting an answer. It was kind of a rhetorical question.
Is it just because there's more light and people are out more, or I don't know? Or
no, I think it's, again, sometimes with full moons, you can feel it in the air. Particularly
begins to sound like a Phil Collins concert. I can feel it.
Yeah. Well,
right,
you know what I mean. I'm not sure.
No, I know.
I'm not sure how else to describe it, but it is. There's like some sort of different energy field or something. Some change in an energy field that connects us all together and connects us with everything else that somehow changes. And I don't know how the moon would influence that.
Have you ever watched that guy Billy Carson? Black guy?
No.
He's a bit...
Is he a comedian?
No, he's not a
not a comedian.
He's not meant to be a comedian. Right. He's I don't know what you would. I suppose he's a conspiracist of some kind or another. But he has all these theories about stuff. And he was. I was watching something he was on the other night, and he was talking about. He was talking about how the moon was formed, and how Tiamat is Tiamat is the asteroid belt. That's what he's saying, right? He's saying the asteroid belt is Tiamat. It exploded, and what's left of it is the Earth.
Well, I heard that it was hit by an extrasolar planet, or hit by something, because the Earth is not. It doesn't follow Bode's law of the spacing between planets in the solar system.
Hold on.
Is that Bode's law? No, it's not that one. But
hold on. We'll come back to this, Ed. I'm sorry, but Yazzie has just said on a personal level, my dad used to change upon a full moon. His hair used to stand on end and we knew to tiptoe around him. Are you saying your dad was a fucking werewolf?
I don't think that's what Yazzie is saying. I might be wrong. But that's not what I read. But I can relate to the angry dad, because my dad was a bit like that, and I could remember one of my childhood memories is asking my mum if dad was coming home that night, because he was a hotel manager, and so he was out. Yeah, no, and asking my mum if he was coming home, and then being really happy when she said he wasn't. Which is not, that's not the kind of relationship a son should have with his father, quite frankly. But I'm not going to go into that one.
Mine's as much the same.
But I can relate, because there were times when my dad was in a bad mood, and literally you could cut the air with a knife, or the atmosphere rather, and that's what I'm saying, where you can feel it in the air, and I'm sure you must have been, as a policeman.
Oh yeah,
you would have been.
Oh yeah,
you know what that angry energy is like, for sure.
You know things are just about to kick off, and you're like, just waiting. You're just waiting on the spark, because somebody will do it. Somebody will just kick off, and then the whole fucking thing just erupts. And you just know that's that battle time.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm sorry, Yazzie. I was only joking.
Yeah, no, Yazzie, bad mood around him. Totally get it.
Oh yeah,
absolutely, 100%. And yeah, it's just growing up as a kid like that's not very nice, I have to say.
Yeah. Well, I didn't see my dad much, really, because what?
Me neither, frankly.
Of what, the first 22 years of my life, he was at sea for 16 of them.
Right.
So I hardly saw him.
Yeah. My dad wasn't at sea, but I didn't see him very much at all. And then after my parents split up, like 6 weeks a year.
Yeah.
But yeah. But then, I mean, that thing that makes people go crazy together, is that some sort of telepathic connection? Is that, I mean, how else would you explain that sort of reaction, where you have a group of people and this really thick atmosphere, and then something happens and it all just goes off?
Is that not just tribalism? That's just group behavior. I mean, look at a football match.
It's possible. I mean, it's like dominoes.
Yeah.
Effectively.
You just get carried away. You get carried away. I mean, and I can't really say it, but things that happened recently, people just get carried away to a degree. Does it really deserve a 2-year, 3-year, 4-year, 5-year sentence? You know? No.
Certainly not when there aren't enough prison spaces, and you have people that are doing much worse things. It's
like I said last night. I have no problem with the law if it's applied fairly, right?
Agreed.
And you cannot treat, and we're back to fucking two-tier straight away, because you cannot treat one group, right, that gets away with fucking everything. And I'm thinking of the riots or disturbances, a couple of years ago, when a certain career criminal, got terminated. So I'm thinking of that, and you never heard any of this shit. You didn't hear any of this at all. It pisses me off, because
me too.
If you're not treated fairly, you develop you develop resentment, and resentment breeds contempt, and contempt then leads into other things that you do not want to go there. And
Well,
that's what the
exactly.
government's got. That's what the government's doing. That's the problem.
And then, and at the same time, he starts bleating. His latest one is fixing the foundations. And you're not. Look, you don't fix something by taking a sledgehammer to it.
I've told people twice now all he had to say when he made that stupid fucking speech about you will feel the full force of the law. Just all he had to say was, look, this is a horrible thing that's happened. Let's work together and make sure it doesn't happen again.
Yeah, but
take a step back, people.
Well, it's the age-old expression when all of your when everything is when all you've got is a hammer,
Yep.
and everything is a nail. And
Yeah.
Starmer is a lawyer. He's a prosecutor. He was head of CPS. We're not going to go into all of the dodgy details about that. But the simple fact is that his solution to everything is to throw the law at it.
Yeah.
But in this particular situation, to me, it's like they want to stoke division. That they're doing this deliberately, because he must have. I mean, it's not just him running the show. He's got advisors and all these other people. And surely someone would have said to him, "Don't you think that?"
To what aim? This is the thing I can't.
Because they want the excuse for more authoritarian control, and if they stoke which is exactly what they've done.
Yeah.
And they want, because there's worse coming, and they're basically trying to nip it in the bud before Reeves's budget. Well, wait until they fuck us all up the arse in October.
Yeah, I know, but the problem is, I don't think they've thought this through.
No, I don't either. They're idiots.
When rats get cornered, what ultimately do they do?
Lash out.
Yeah, exactly.
When anything gets cornered, the most dangerous animal is a cornered animal. And the problem is that now, because of Ukraine collapsing and the effect that that's going to have on the economy, and all of their, essentially, it's going to reveal all of their dodgy dealings and all of just because people will say, hang on a minute, so Ukraine's lost and now the UK economy has collapsed. How the hell did that work? What have you people done? And they won't be able to hide it. And so they're trying to forestall the inevitable social unrest by making people too terrified to go out onto the streets.
Yeah.
That's what I think that whole thing was about, is to make people too frightened to actually go out and protest.
I think it was.
Yeah, and now there's talk of doing a deal with Estonia. So some of the poor bastards that get arrested here can end up doing jail time in Estonia.
Can't do that.
Which, I mean, well,
you can't do that.
They're talking about it. The British government's floated the idea, and the Estonian government's floated the idea.
You can't do that.
Well, no,
you can't ship your convicts off to another fucking country. Are we back to 1700s Australia? This is nuts.
Clearly. Well, at least they're not shipping them all the way around the world, and it's just Estonia. Although,
what the fuck? You just can't do this. This is fucking nuts. You're a British citizen. If you commit a crime in Britain, you're entitled to be held in Britain, not in fucking Estonia.
Well, apparently the UK's got something like 86,000 prison inmates. And we don't have enough jail space.
Yeah, because you've given people fucking ludicrous and disproportionate sentencing for what are in effect no crimes.
Yeah. And as the government, well then,
Christ.
And as a government, you know damn well how many prison places you've got, and so you decide to fill them up with people for posting naughty things on social media and throwing rocks, and let out people that have collected thousands of Class A nasty images of children. I mean,
they don't get the jail anyway. They don't get the jail anyway. they don't even get fucking. I mean, what do they get? Community orders if they're lucky.
Well, I don't want to get us into any trouble, but did you see that someone did a tweet thread about all of the judges who were passing these
Yes, I did
disproportionate
see that.
sentences?
Yeah, and they've got a common thread.
Yeah, certain other things that they've done,
and letting people off lightly. Yeah,
I went through that and I thought, no, this is just okay. I encourage people to go out there and try and find it. I realize our description has been a bit nebulous. But Leilani Dowding posted it. So if you go through her profile, you'll probably see it. But I mean, that is just.
What do you think of Leilani Dowding?
I don't know her apart from on Twitter.
I mean,
she's certainly gotten more feisty since Labour got elected.
Oh, she has. She seems all right.
She's like angry Leilani now.
I know.
The only person that uses the CUNT word anymore is Tinkercunt.
She blocked me. She blocked me about 3 incarnations ago for asking if she got her clothes from Baby Gap. It wasn't even Baby Gap, it was Gap Kids.
You're such a bastard sometimes.
Well, yeah, I am, but for fuck's sake.
You should write a book called How Not to Make Friends and Influence People.
Shouldn't people be able to take, a laugh? This is the problem. See, this is the problem because Twitter's not like being in the town square. It's not like being down the pub because you can't have a fucking laugh with a lot of people. I mean, I made a joke last night to a guy and he said, this has been a shit week for me, right? He said, I failed my Zur Academy exam, right? My front bridge teeth broke or something like that. I take it that's his falsers, right? So anyway, he broke that, and his friend of 25 years had passed away at the age of 44, which is fucking horrific, right?
That's grim.
So I replied, and I goes, on the bright side, right? You can resit your exam, okay? You can get your teeth fixed, and your mate doesn't have to fucking listen to you moaning.
Well, you were doing really well until you spoiled it.
But he took it in the way it was meant to be. He took it and he gave me a big smiley face and I go, you're going to be all right, mate. Yeah.
That's all right then.
Yeah, so, I mean, it's rare. Normally that's the kind of thing that gets me blocked,
Well, because people have to have a sense of humour. And with you, sometimes it's because of your Scottishness. It's not always easy.
It's not optional. It's not optional.
It's also not always easy to tell the bloody difference.
Yeah, but it's not optional. You have to have a sense of humour.
Well, I think you have to have a sense of humour in life.
Yeah, I think you do too, mate.
And part of that is also being able to laugh at yourself. And the people who blocked you are probably the ones who have no capacity to laugh at themselves.
I'm quite open. I'm always telling people that I am. I see you next Tuesday.
Well, that's actually a term I learned not that long ago, that it's actually a term of endearment among Scots.
So. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah, of course it is.
Yeah. Oh dear.
Scottish people do nothing but insult people all the time. Yeah, you insult each other all the time.
It's so true. Oh dear, we've been going for an hour and a half. Have we still got any viewers?
Yeah. We've lost.
Oh wow,
we've lost 1. We had 14. We've got 13.
It's
not been as well attended as normal. I don't know why. We've had 56 total views, but I'm just waiting. I'm just hoping that one day we'll break through and we will get a good viewership.
Well, I mean, there's so much competition, and I guess it's just the thing is that we go out of our way to not be particularly controversial, Unfortunately, in this day and age, it's the controversy that sells. If we were,
but the thing is, by not being controversial, you're fucking more controversial than anyone else. I mean, really, if you think about it, because I think I take a very neutral route down through life and through politics and whatever. And when I did that political compass thing, I was just very, very slightly to the left of centre, believe it or not. Ben was slightly to the right, but I was slightly to the left, right? So my political compass is right down the fucking middle. And nobody likes that. Because you get to slag both sides.
Which is probably why you've got the bloody views that you do.
Yeah, I know. Hey, I'm my own worst enemy. I'm my own worst enemy.
John, we are all our own worst enemy. I don't know anyone in life who is not their own worst enemy.
You're quite right.
Apart from Keir Starmer, who is everybody's enemy.
And you know what? I bet he goes home at night and goes, did a good job today.
He just seems so devoid of any kind of personality or humanity, or
that is a lawyer thing. You think about all the dealings you've ever had with lawyers, right? If you ever bought a house or had been in bother or been to court or anything like that, all the dealings you've ever had with lawyers, they all talk to you in the same way. That condescending, I'm speaking to you as if you're an idiot because I think you are an idiot, but I'm going to speak to you anyway because it's going to make me money. And they all talk to you like that. Even the fucking black belt barrister does that. He sits back and goes, well, let's consider this. We do this, we do that. It's like, I understand what you're saying, mate, and you sound good, but fucking put some passion into it or give us some empathy. Oh, no, you didn't want to do that because if you did that, then this would have happened. You're fucking hell. I just can't. I can't take people that have no passion.
Well, the thing is that if you look at the politicians, they all studied law, and so you've got lawyers that essentially, one branch of lawyers go off to make a whole bunch of laws that the other lawyers then have to deal with, and they deliberately go out of the way to make everything so dense and so confusing and so dull, frankly. And like the legal documents, you read it and you could have written everything that they've said in one paragraph, and they've used up 2 pages. And by the time you're halfway through it, you can barely keep your eyes open. And the lawyer's just sitting back, rubbing his hands with his £300 an hour bloody expenses, and not expenses, but I mean, it's just the whole thing is just a con. Because if the law was simpler, it's like common law. It's simple. You've got a simple set of rules, and everybody knows what the rules are.
Yeah, but it isn't because the words mean different things. It's like I was talking about last night. That word intend and incite, legally they mean completely different things from what the fucking dictionary means, So you've got to be careful when you're in a courtroom. And I mean, I'll tell you the story one time about when I went to court and defended myself and won.
That must have been fun. You won?
Oh, I fucking won, all right, yeah. I get taken to the small claims court by Slater, Hogg and Howison. They wanted £3,000 off me. Newsflash, in the end, they had to pay me money. But yeah, that was a cracker. So I'll tell you that one night, because I defended myself. And when you defend yourself, you get to sit at the the bench with the other lawyer. So the other lawyer's facing you, and she had a fucking pile of books. She had like fucking 3 piles of books with her, and I'm sitting there with a notepad. And my wife's sitting beside me because we're co-defendants, And she's looking at me, and I'm going, "Be fine, be fine." It was a fucking scream, mate. It was a scream, and the sheriff was brilliant. It was a female sheriff, but she was fucking brilliant.
That's the Scottish equivalent of a judge.
Yeah, aye, Yeah. Not a magistrate or a judge.
Don't they have to? Don't separate rules operate when you defend yourself?
What, like?
Well, like the court has to help you out a little bit more than they would do if you
Well,
were a lawyer.
they will advise you on points of law if you're overdoing it. But my legal knowledge isn't bad. This was a civil case though, so it was a little bit outside my normal remit, but I still managed it, and as I said, I won. So it was a fucking scream though. I couldn't believe it when I won.
Well, with the way AI is going, pretty soon everybody will be able to defend themselves because you just sit there with your phone and you just pump it all into the AI, and the AI.
Yeah, but you can't do that in a courtroom.
Now.
Yeah.
Just wait.
Yeah, well, we'll see. We'll see. But yeah, it was good. It was good. But yeah, I think we've covered a lot tonight, haven't we?
Yeah, we have.
I've had a fucking scream. It's been good.
Yeah, no, it's been great.
This has been more like good. An all-in than a.
Yeah. Although we haven't been talking about current events, and I'm sorry I can't join you tomorrow. I've got birthday steak.
Yeah, no, that's cool. That's cool. I might do a clip show tomorrow. We'll see how it goes. I
should be able to join you for all in next week. I mean, I'll definitely be in for the rabbit hole next week.
Yeah. We were talking earlier about for fuck's sake, raise away already. So we were talking earlier about things like, what was it? I've forgotten what I was going to say. I'd just forgotten. It's maybe time to call it.
Yeah, no, I had that when you went to the loo.
You forgot what you did?
Yeah.
You just sat there?
Camera. No, I was still talking to them. I didn't go blank for too long.
Hello, people. My name's Ed. I like seagulls.
I don't like seagulls. They're little bastards.
Hello, my name's Ed. I don't like seagulls, but the little bastards force me to feed them, and they keep coming back, and I don't know what to do.
Well, good night, right?
Oh, start earlier or do this on a Friday when I don't have to be up at 5 8. Oh well, fair point, Ray. You're excused, mate. You're dismissed. Stand down. Yeah, yeah. I mean, it's up to you. I don't know if you want to go on or.
No, I think I'm done. We've been going for an hour and a half. I'm kind of knackered now. So
right, okay. It's been great.
It's been fun though. I've enjoyed it.
Yeah. So, as always, people, if you liked us, like, share, subscribe, because it doesn't cost you anything. In fact, nothing fucking costs you anything, because nobody's donated to me for months now, apart from the regulars. And you know who you are, and we love you because of that. But, you know what? Drop me the price of a coffee or something, just as an aside. Yes, I'm a grifter. But it's an honest grift because I put this out here for free. I don't charge you access to it. So if you ever feel the need or have the opportunity, dig in and drop us a little something. Just to make us feel all warm inside and cozy. Especially with the cold winter nights coming in. Say good night, Ed.
But good night, guys.
It's been great for you.
Make all the demons quiet, yeah. We were built to thrive, yeah. I think that we've all had enough. What keeps you up at night, yeah. Make all the demons quiet, yeah. We were built to thrive, yeah.